Hello again, everyone. This is Zombie Kids Rule, and I'm back with another tutorial video here for RPG Maker MZ, and this should also work for MV. I apologize for the delay. Like I said in some of my previous videos, I am having a very difficult time trying to find a quiet space where I can actually record these videos uninterrupted. So it's kind of hit or miss of when I have the time to do it. I've been able to make my other videos for the 1X Player Mini AMD handheld because I don't have to have audio input for that. I can just sit around and it doesn't matter how loud it is. So this video is going to be another option. It's a simpler option for random treasure using a common event. And so I had done a previous tutorial on using a common event, if I remember correctly, and variables for random treasure, but it was also keyed in with treasure chests and the fact that you could keep that item in the treasure chest. And this is just this is not connected to that. This is just a plain old simple example of how you can use a common event to determine random treasure and using different random number variables to determine what treasure or if any treasure is received. So let me show you, as always, how this runs in the game, and then we'll break it down. So this should be a simpler option. Again, there's a lot going on this screen. Just ignore everything else. So I want to go over here. When I touch it, it's going to tell me you rolled a 99. You found something. And as I've said in other tutorials, when I'm doing these, I want to make sure that they're working properly. So I often display things that I wouldn't normally display, like what did you roll, right? What was the random roll behind it? So I know which one this is. Um, we also rolled a 1, and I'm going to show you why. So we're actually doing multiple rolls here. I found 10 gold pieces. So now I should have shown this right here. We have 10 total gold pieces, and if we go up to items, I have no items, I have no weapons, I have no armors. Okay, so I should have done that as well. So now I'm going to go ahead and engage this again because I can test this multiple times the way I built this. You rolled a 48. You found something. Okay, now I rolled a 3, and that determines that I found a short bow. And again, I'll show you why I'm doing multiple rolls when we get into it. So test it again. Rolled a 59, found something. I rolled a 4 this time, and I got a leather vest. I got an 85, found something again. I rolled a 2, I got 25 gold pieces. Rolled a 56, got a 4, got a leather vest. 9, didn't find anything of value. Okay, so I'm just checking to make sure all the different sections are working correctly. Got an 89, I rolled a 3, and then a 4. So in this particular area, I needed to do 2 additional rolls, and I ended up finding 4 potions. So the second extra roll here equates to the number of potions that I found. We'll just do one more. I rolled a 52, and I rolled a 2, and that's going to determine that it was my cloth armor. So, and then if I show the items here, I have 4 potions, I have 1 short bow, I have 2 leather vests, I have 1 cloth armor, and then of course I have 35 gold now. So it's all accumulating properly. Okay, so that is what it does. And again, I just built this as a test to show the functionality of the common event. And I'm engaging with this little crystal here. And the only thing in the contents of this event is calling the common event random treasure. That's it. And I said early on that my presumption is that you've already watched some basic tutorials, so I don't always go in and show you how to find the different event commands. This happens to be on page 1, right? And you call a common event, and then you pick whatever common event is appropriate. So it's just simply calling a common event random treasure. And I have my image down here, and same as character and player touch. So every time the player bumps into it, it triggers this common event. You wouldn't obviously want to do this in the game, letting them go over and over and over and over again, but this is for testing purposes. So let's go look at the common event. So I go here, and my common event, and so this is all in one common event, and it's doing multiple things, and I'll show you as we break it down. So the first thing it does is it randomly determines a number between 1 and 100. So my variable is 1, called random num, and I'm randomly determining a number from 1 to 100. That's the first thing it does. Then it takes the results of that 1 to 100, and it says if, as a conditional branch, if variable 1, random num, is less than 25, then it's going to show this text. It's going to say you rolled a variable 1, right, which is random number, and you didn't find anything, because if it's less than 25, you don't get anything. And then it just stops. If the random num, the control variable 1, is greater than or equal to 25, but less than 50, so you do this kind of nested conditional branch stuff. So if it's this, but then also if it's less than 50, then I want you to do the rest. And so if it's between these numbers, it's going to say you rolled a variable 1, right? It's going to tell you what your result was, and you found something. Then immediately it's going to do another random number. It's going to do another random determination. Variable 6, I have it as 1d4, 1 die 4, and it's generating a number between 1 and 4. And then there's yet another conditional branch inside here. So we use the conditional to get to this part. If the one between 1 and 100 is essentially 25 to 49, and then if it's in this area, it's going to roll this 1 to 4, and it's going to say, okay, I'm going to check what the results are for each number, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if the 1 die 4, the variable 6 essentially, is 1, then it's going to give them a short sword. A short sword, so we're just increasing it by 1, and it tells the text. You rolled a variable 6, so it tells you the results, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and it tells you what you found. You found a short sword. And then it's going to do the same type of thing for the next 3 numbers. If the variable 1 die 4 is equal to 2, then it's going to increase your treasure by a wooden staff by 1, and then it tells you you rolled a variable 6, right? You rolled a 2, and it's going to tell you got a wooden staff. If the variable 6, 1 die 4, is equal to 3, then you're going to get a short bow. It increases it by 1, and it tells you you rolled a variable 6, which is a 3. Okay, in this instance, you found a short bow. And then it does the last thing for if it's a 4. Okay, and it gives you a hand axe, and it tells you that. And that all happens if your original random roll of 1 to 100 is a 25 to a 49. So if we go down a little further, we have the next part of that. If the original random number, variable 1, is greater than or equal to 50, but less than 75. And so that would be 50 to 74. And if that's true, then it's going to do this. It's going to do the same type of thing as it did in the previous number range. You rolled it tells you what you rolled. You rolled either a 50 to a 40 to a 74. You found something. It does that random determination of another variable, variable 6, 1 to 4, and then it's just going to go through the same thing. If 1 die 4 is a 1, it's a cotton robe, and then it tells you what you got. And if it's a 2, it's cloth armor, and then it tells you what it got. And if it's a 3, it's leather armor, and it tells you what it got. And if it's a 4, it's leather vest, and then it tells you what it got. And then we go down to the next number options. If that original random number of 1 to 100 is greater than or equal to 75, so from 75 all the way to 100, we don't need that second conditional if statement in here. Then it's going to tell you again, you rolled whatever you rolled, 75 to 100, you found something. Then it's going to roll that 1 to 4 again. But then I wanted to add into the option of giving more than one of an item. So it rolls another control variable 85 for quantity, which is randomly named at quantity, and it rolls a number between 2 and 4, so 2, 3, or 4. So now the first time, if the random number is a 1, it gives gold. So we're not going to use this quantity because I don't want to give them 2, 3, or 4 gold pieces. I could. It depends on my game, right? What's how much treasure, how much gold is equal to a good amount of treasure. And then it tells them, right? You found variable 6. I'm sorry, you rolled a variable 6, a 1, and you got 10 gold pieces. And then for the result of a 2, it gives you 25 gold pieces, and it tells you that. But then when you get down to a 3 or a 4, it's going to give you a potion. And this is where it's increasing a potion by the variable quantity. So if I roll up here a 2, a 3, or a 4, that's how many potions I'm going to get. And so if I edit this, it's basically the item I selected increasing by the variable, by whatever variable I choose. And then it's telling you you rolled a variable 6 for that number 1 to 4, and you rolled a variable 85, which is the quantity. Because I want to see whether it's doing what I told it to do when I'm testing it. And then it says you found variable 85 potions. So if the quantity was a 2, then this would be a 2, and this would be 2 potions. And the exact same thing for if the 1 die 4 roll is a 4, then it's giving lockpicks of whatever of the variable quantity. And then it's saying you rolled a variable 6 for that 1 die 4, which would be a 4, and then the variable 85, which is the quantity, and then it tells them you found variable 85, the quantity value lockpicks. And that's the whole thing. Now, the great thing about this is that you can set this up any way you want. I mean, you could do multiple common events, you could do different things like that. But for the ease of building this, just to test the functionality, I stuck with essentially 4 different results of the 1 to 100, right? So if it's less than 25, if it's 25 to 49, if it's 50 to 74, and then if it's greater than 75. But you could do more than that. I mean, you could do 10 different, groupings if you wanted to. And then within the groupings, I chose to just do 4 different items. But again, you could do much more than that. So you could build a random treasure common event, which essentially gives the possibility of someone getting all the weapons, right? All the armor, all the items, all the whatever, however you want to break it down. And you could make multiple common events where you have, lower, common treasure versus rare treasure versus, unique treasure or artifacts or whatever. Or you could also do that within one common event, or it's all up to you. Personally, what I would probably do is I would have a common event that first determines the type of treasure I'm giving them, right? Is it a common treasure? Is it rare treasure? Is it unique treasure? Whatever, artifacts. And then that would call a different common event. And for my rare treasure, it would be all of the rare. You'd have a possibility of getting any of the rare, common, any of the common weapons, any of the common armor, any of the common, items, however you build your database, what you give your players. And then I do the same thing for rare and same thing for unique or artifact or what have you. So this is just one way you can do this in a single common event. And it's up to you how many of these things you do and how you break it up and what you give them. But this is a fairly simple way to do this. And you don't have to remember any of these values because we're not coupling this. We're not adding this to the treasure chests where we're allowing people to keep things in the treasure chest and not take things. So this is just a simple way of doing this. And that's pretty much it. You have essentially one random determination where you start your conditional branches, and you have 4 of those. And then within some of the conditional branches, you add another conditional branch, which allows you to then determine again what part or what things they might get in that range of numbers. Okay, so it's actually it's pretty simple, and you notice that in this there are essentially no else branches. So this is just if, and then it's not an else. These are if statements, and there's no else. No, there's no else's in here, so you don't have to use else in here at all. I'm sure there are other ways to approach this, other ways to build this, but this is just the way that I did this. Again, common event, no triggers. It's being called by essentially this map event here, and that's it. So anyway, hopefully that helps. Maybe that triggers your thoughts on on ways to incorporate this. And again, in any game that I ultimately build, my plan is to have common events that are called to get specific lists of things so that I can use them over and over and over again. And then that way, whether it's random or whether it's predetermined, if I have something where I want to give them, common items or common things or rare or unique, I can just code it where the map event, calls that specific common event. Or again, I can leave it completely random and say, hey, you never know. Maybe you might get a common thing. You might get a unique thing from this. Who knows? So again, anyway, hope this helps. If it does, please, like, subscribe, get notifications, leave comments, and tell me how things work out for you. I like to see comments, and go back and look at my other tutorials. I really hope they help. And again, if you haven't watched any of my previous tutorials, these are not really fancy. I'm still learning. I haven't been doing this for very long. As I build things and I haven't seen a specific tutorial for it that might be, super clear for folks, I just am making these videos to see if it helps people on their journey. So again, thank you very much, folks. I'm glad you found me, and I will try to get more videos up as soon as I can. And in the meantime, happy gaming and happy game development, and you guys have a great day. Thank you.